Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of WTF with the equally amazing Dr. Chris Willems and Alan Stevens. I mean, there's always a competition who's more brilliant, but then, I can't decide.
Equally brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just argue over who's the best looking.
That's right.
And that. And I am Angela Heise. So today we're talking about food intolerances. And that's a topic that is close to my heart because I am one of those gluten-free people. Thankfully, I am not celiac. So if there's a gluten molecule somewhere in there, I don't have problems. But I am very careful around what I eat. What I do find very amazing is that people use the intolerances for all sorts of purposes. Like, to give you an example, I was on a plane and they were delivering my gluten-free meal, and the woman next to me got hers as well. And I said, "Oh, so you're gluten intolerant?" She went, And then for dessert, she offered me a regular biscuit, with all the wheat you could possibly look at. And I just looked at her and said, "So you're not really gluten intolerant?" She said, "No," but I said, "So why did you order a gluten-free meal?" She said, "Oh, because it arrives earlier than anybody else's." Okay. Right. And that is what gives gluten-free a bad name, because and a lot of people don't know. I mean, I have eaten bread that somebody said is absolutely gluten-free, and I had stomach rumblings and all sorts of stuff. And then I said to the person, "That was not gluten-free." And they said, "Yes, it is." And they showed me the package and it said lactose-free. And I'm like, that's not quite the same thing. So
Is it true? I'm not sure whether it is or not, but anecdotally, is it? Do we get more gluten intolerant as we get older? Because sometimes when I eat bread, I get a bit, because I've never been gluten intolerant, but sometimes when I eat bread, I get a bit rumbly in the stomach and a bit sort of bloated.
it's more the quality of the flour.
Okay.
Like there are certain flours that people with gluten intolerance can eat.
Okay.
And that depends on the level of how old it is, what kind of flour, so what kind of wheat it is,
Yeah.
and also whether it's been exposed to pesticides or not. So
Ah.
all of these things, they're multifaceted. They all make a really big difference.
Yeah. Well, the pesticide thing, or that'd be a huge issue, and that's a huge hidden issue, isn't it? Because we just don't know.
Yeah.
And in fact, I forget where it was, but someone recently said that it was American research. If you live within 5 miles, I think it was, of a golf course, that you were 2.5 times more likely to get cancer.
Oh, happy days.
Yeah.
That's me.
What's the reason for that?
Well, presumably all the weed stuff they use to maintain the golf course. And you think, well, it depends. If you played golf every day, you might be a bit of a worry as well. And I say, I think golf's the most boring game on the planet. I don't care. And I don't live near a golf course.
So you have an allergy to golf. Do you have any other allergies or in food intolerances?
A golf intolerance.
Let's just bring it back to the topic.
As far as the golf goes, wasn't it Winston Churchill who said that playing golf was a waste of a good walk?
Yeah.
But anyway, as Angela said, back to the topic.
When you get to the end of the golf course, you go to the cafe, to the clubhouse, and you eat bread. You eat, and so winding our way back to the topic.
Nice try.
It's called what's it called? What do they call it in television? A segue. Brilliant segue.
Brilliant. Yes.
So Angela, have you always been gluten intolerant or gluten sensitive?
No, only after I arrived in Australia. Because for some reason the flour here is different. I mean, I don't want to just talk about my gluten intolerance because that's not what it's about. But I want to talk about the fact that there are people out there who now have peanut allergies and who can die from them. And we're now becoming more and more restrictive in what we can offer people because there are so many more intolerances around. But at the same time, there are people who claim I just saw an ad where people claim, go back to gluten, we can give you this supplement and we can cure your gluten intolerance in 12 weeks. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm always open to the body healing itself, but gluten intolerance, that's not really something. Or lactose intolerance can be, I mean, in my experience, you take lactose out for a while, then you can eat milk again, just not in huge quantities, but you can. But there are people who genetically do not process lactose.
Right.
So I have a friend
That's right.
who there's a certain gene, from what I understand, that that prevents you from processing lactose.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And
Okay.
people can get really sick, but there are people who make jokes and fun of it, like surely it can't be that bad,
Yeah.
and yes, it can be really bad.
Yeah.
So you don't
Oh,
want to
that's
risk that, but you don't want to also over prescribe.
no, that's right. Well,
But we hear so much of like the friend that you had on the plane that
Not a friend.
exactly. That's why I said a friend. But using that as an excuse, and how many other people who are getting on the bandwagon because it's the thing to do, to be recognized, etc., which adds to the confusion and also the fact that other people go, well, this stuff is probably all put on, and therefore the people who genuinely have the issue, then they have those problems with everybody else around them, saying, well, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well,
Again,
that's why I asked the question about do we become things like gluten intolerant as we get older? Because maybe it's fashionable, maybe it's because we're all getting older, but it just there seems to be a fashionality about it as well, doesn't it? Whatever it's gluten or other things. And I was at a business lunch yesterday, and they sent a form beforehand saying what sort of any dietary specialities, requirements, or exclusions or whatever. And I was at one end of the table, and there was like 4 or 5 people immediately around me, and we all said, "No, it's fine." And and we're all older people, and I wondered whether that was we're not subject to the fashion of it, or whether it's just a coincidence that we happen to be all okay with no specialities. So it's really hard to tell, isn't it? But when you say the flour is different here from because in Germany, I seem to recall they have lots of like rye breads and things like that, and those kinds of flours. So is that a factor, do you think?
I think so. I mean, I have heard of people who go to Italy and France who can eat flour there and, are intolerant in Australia, but not in those countries.
Wow. And
So,
again, the method in which they grow it, the chemicals they use on it, all of those different things. It's not a matter of going, okay, the flour is the same here as overseas, and when I travel, I'm okay, but here I'm not. There's got to be something in the production of everything.
And is the genetic modification of wheat that's happened, is that a
I
factor?
think I'm sure that helps us, that supports that as well. Look, I think we have to also consider that what one person is intolerant to or with, and somebody's allergy is not the same for everybody. All our metabolisms are very different. So, like it's trying out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then, yes, you have to make some general rules, but it's also educating people around it. Because sometimes people don't understand. I went to an event that I paid a lot of money for. It was one of those, they bring the canapes around. And they did check me for, like, do you have any intolerances or allergies? And I wrote gluten. They handed probably around 15 different canapes, and I was able to eat one.
Wow.
Everything else had gluten in it. So, and then people I went to a funeral some time ago, and the people had very kindly offered a gluten-free cake, and it had a big sign on it that said gluten-free.
Yeah.
And there were 6 other cakes. And I found this woman who was putting all this food on her plate, and then added more gluten-free cake. And I said to her, "You realize this is for people who are gluten intolerant?" She said, "Oh, I don't mind." I'm like, you've got all these other cakes that you can eat. This is the only one we can eat. And you go, "I don't mind." So there's all this confusion around it, like like people, and I don't know how to educate people, but it is a WTF for me. And again, lactose, there are all sorts of things that, I mean, like Alan and I had dinner with somebody the other day who can't eat alliums, no leeks.
What, sorry?
Alliums, leeks, garlic, onion, chives, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So I don't know how that happens, but
because of the acid in it or something, or like onions?
I don't know. I think it's part of the FOMAP. Look, there are all these different things around nutrition, and it's getting more and more complicated. But I think the more we move away from natural foods, the harder it's going to be,
That's it.
yeah.
See, we look at something on the shelf and we look at the additives that are added to it, and the way my mind's working at the moment, they're going to have a list that's going to be as long as our voting paper that we have for the federal elections, with all the additives that are in. And when they're using numbers, and
Yeah.
they're talking about sugar here and they're using a number for sugar somewhere else in there.
Yeah.
It's so confusing, but it's also done deliberately to just get their products out there, because the what is it, salts and sugars and fats, we have an addiction to it.
Yeah.
And so
And they
there's
are
a lot of
using
corruption
numbers.
in there.
Yeah, they're de-identifying. They'll say, oh, we got the numbers, they've got the code in there, but we don't know what the bloody code is. Just sugar or salt or whatever, or monosodium glutamate. It's and deception. It's false.
And if you are somebody who's got a serious reaction to those things, that's irresponsible.
Actually,
It's greed for profit.
Well, indeed, but I don't know how restaurant owners and people who do food stuff, I don't know how they do it because there's so many, I can't have this and I do have that and blah. It's like when people order coffees, the latte with I can't even think of all the complexities, the permutations and combinations. For God's sake, it's a cup of coffee, I don't drink much coffee, but so I don't go through all that stuff. But you listen to people, you go, my God, how do you keep up? How do the baristas keep up with that stuff? But they all seem to go, we'll have, and they've got their different packets of milk and different kinds of milk stuff. You go, bloody hell, I couldn't.
But that's not often an intolerance. That's just people making a certain healthy choice. Whether it's really healthy or not, that's a totally different question.
Absolutely.
But for me, this is about inform yourself, make sure that you know the different kinds of allergies or intolerances, which is different. An intolerance is very different from an allergy. An allergy can kill you. An intolerance just makes you sick. And again, and notice what works for your body and what doesn't. And please don't force people to eat something that they tell you they can't eat. I've had that being told, it's not that bad. I'm sure you can eat that. No, I can't. Oh, I've just made you something because I think you should try again and see if it will. No, I don't want to do that. I have done this just to test it out, and it had not great consequences. So it's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So no. But, again, it's just inform yourself, test yourself, make sure that you work within your own integrity and leave people to eat what they can. And if you have guests who tell you that they can't eat something, please honor that. Don't say, I think you can eat that, so I made it anyways.
Well, it ultimately comes back to respecting their choices, doesn't it? And that's what we're about. It's about building bridges of gluten-free respect, one conversation at a time. So we'll see you next time. Thanks very much to Angela and Alan.